Oregon law requires employers to pay at least the applicable prevailing wage rate for an employee's work on a public works project covered by the state's prevailing wage rate laws. Additionally, these contractors and subcontractors must file certified payroll reports and statements for each week of work on the project. By doing so, employers certify under oath that all workers were paid at least the applicable prevailing wage rate, commonly referred to as PWR, in full and for all hours worked. This video will provide general instructions for employers on how to comply with the state's certified payroll requirements by demonstrating how to complete the WH-38, BOLI's prevailing wage rate payroll and certified statement form. If, at the end of the video, you still have questions or need assistance completing certified payroll, please contact BOLI's PWR unit for help. Before I get started, it's worth mentioning that keeping accurate and complete payroll records is not only required by law, but doing so can help make completing certified payroll easier. Since certified payroll primarily reports hours worked and wages paid, the process of completing certified payroll generally involves transferring information from your original payroll records to a payroll report form. Now, let's begin by selecting the correct form to use. BOLI makes the WH-38 form available to the public to help employers comply with their certified payroll requirements under the law. This form is available for download in multiple formats on BOLI's website and contains 2 pages. The first is the payroll report page. It asks for the hours worked, pay rates, payment information, and general project information. The second page is the certified statement, which confirms that the information provided is true to your knowledge. Please note, BOLI does not require employers to use page 1 of this form to report payroll. However, if you choose to use a different form, it must supply all the information requested on page 1 of the WH-38 form. Regardless of what form you use to report payroll, all employers must certify the reports by signing and dating page 2 of the WH-38 and submitting it with their payroll report. Please also be aware that completing and submitting the U.S. Department of Labor's payroll report, Federal Form WH-347, on a project subject to Oregon's PWR law does not satisfy BOLI's filing requirements. Let's now look at each section of the WH-38 form. There are 2 general sections on the payroll report page. The top is for general information about your company and the project, and the bottom is for reporting your employees' hours and wages. Starting with the top, you must report your business's name, phone number, addresses, the type of work you are performing, and, if applicable, your CCB registration number. As for the project, you must report its name, location, and if applicable, identification number. Generally, this information will remain the same from week to week. Answer all the questions, ensuring that no box is left unanswered. Then, identify the pay period you are reporting and complete the appropriate section, depending on whether you're the prime contractor or a subcontractor. The bottom section contains 11 numbered columns of requested information for each worker on the project. I'll explain and guide you through how to complete each column in order. The first column asks for the employee's full name and most recent address. This address must be on the first certified payroll that is submitted, but need not be shown on subsequent payrolls submitted unless the address changes. Next, column 2 requires employers to report the classification of the duties the worker performed on the job. For example, cement mason or roofer. A complete list of classifications is found in BOLI's definitions of covered occupations for public works contracts in Oregon and available on BOLI's website. This book contains definitions and descriptions of all the classifications of work on a prevailing wage rate project. The definition that most closely matches the actual work being performed by a worker is the appropriate classification to use for PWR purposes and must be reported in this box. Be sure to enter the group number if applicable. When reporting for apprentices, include their classification and group number as well as their current step or percentage. If an employee works in more than one classification, either pay the highest rate for all hours worked or use separate line entries to show hours worked and hourly rates for each classification. Moving on, column 3 requires employers to report the days, dates, hours, and schedule worked on the project by an employee. Enter the day of the week, beginning with the first day in your company's established work week. Then enter the date below. For each employee, enter the total number of straight time hours worked in the row marked ST. Generally, on public works projects, overtime is due daily after 8 hours and on Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays. These hours must be entered in the row labeled OT. Contractors who have adopted and followed a written 4-10 work schedule of 4 consecutive 10-hour days, either Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday, may enter hours worked over 10 in a day as overtime hours. For more information on overtime requirements, exemptions, and how to establish a 4-10 schedule, please contact BOLI's PWR unit. Next, indicate whether the employee is on a 5-8 or 4-10 schedule, and enter their regular hourly schedule for the week being reported. For example, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Now you're ready to total the employee's straight time and overtime hours in the boxes located in column 4. You must report straight and overtime hours worked separately. If any employee worked in multiple classifications, those too must be totaled separately. In column 5, enter the hourly base rate for both the straight time and overtime hours reported in the previous column. Please note that overtime must be paid at a rate of at least 1 1/2 times the base rate of pay. A quick note about the prevailing wage rate. Each classification on a public works project has a corresponding prevailing wage rate that includes a base hourly rate and a fringe rate. It's the combination of these two rates that make up the hourly prevailing wage rate. BOLI publishes the prevailing wage rates twice a year, and generally, the applicable rates are those rates plus any amendments or corrections in effect at the time the public agency first advertised the project for bid. Moving forward, the amount of the required fringe rate that you pay directly to the employee as wages is reported in column 6. Generally, if you are paying an employee the full PWR amount in wages, you would typically enter the prevailing base rate in column 5 and the fringe rate in column 6. It's worth noting that for overtime hours worked, it's not necessary to pay time and 1/2 for the fringe benefit portion of the prevailing wage rate. Now, on to column 7, which asks for the gross amount earned. This refers to the gross amount earned by the employee on the public works project and, if different, the gross amount earned in the pay period. For example, if part of the employee's wages for the pay period were earned on projects other than the project you are reporting on, or if the employee is paid less often than a weekly basis, then you must enter the gross amount earned on the PWR project for the week as well as the total gross amount earned in the pay period, as shown here. Next, in column 8, enter the deductions withheld from wages for the pay period. Only legal and authorized deductions are allowed. For projects subject to only the state's PWR law, you may enter the total amount. However, when reporting for a project that is subject to both the state's PWR law and the federal Davis-Bacon Act, employers must itemize deductions as required by federal law. Now, report the net wages paid to the employee in column 9. The last two columns on the payroll report form concern employer contributions to fringe benefit plans, such as a retirement program, health insurance, or paid time off. An employer who makes a contribution on behalf of an employee to a bona fide fringe benefit program is eligible to take a fringe credit against the prevailing wage rate. To report a credit, enter the name of each plan in column 11 and the corresponding equivalent hourly rate for each plan in column 10. Repeat the process of completing columns 1 through 11 for each employee who worked on the project during the week, using additional pages if necessary. If employees are working on multiple PWR projects in the same week, you must complete and submit separate certified payroll for each project. Be sure to check your reports for accuracy. A simple way to check your wage calculation for each employee can be done by adding the amounts in columns 5, 6, and 10. The sum of these three boxes must equal or exceed the applicable prevailing wage rate, including premium pay, for the appropriate classification. After completing your payroll report form, you must certify that your entries are true by signing and dating the certified statement found on page 2 of the WH-38 form. Begin by entering the appropriate employer and project information in the spaces provided on the left side of the page, highlighted here. The right side of the page is provided for use on projects that are subject to the Federal Davis-Bacon Act, as well as Oregon's PWR laws. By signing the certified statement, you are stating that those persons you have employed on the project have been paid the full weekly wages earned, and that no rebates of any kind have been made from these wages to you or your company. When you sign the certified statement, you are also affirming that you have correctly classified employees and paid your workers no less than the applicable prevailing wage rate. Additionally, if you employ apprentices, the certified statement declares that all apprentices are duly registered in a bona fide apprenticeship program. A certified payroll and statement are due for each week of work on a project. Unsigned reports, and those not received by the public agency associated with the project by the 5th business day of the following month, do not satisfy the law's filing requirements and are considered a violation of PWR law. So, be sure to complete and submit your payroll and statement on time. As required by law, 25% of any amount earned will be withheld from the prime contractor or first-tier subcontractor who does not submit their payroll on time. Do not send your certified payroll to BOLI. The agency responsible for the project is also responsible for receiving the certified payroll. A word of caution. It's important to treat the completion of certified payroll carefully and enter only accurate information, because falsified reports are a serious violation of the law and can result in civil penalties, as well as placement on the state's list of contractors ineligible to receive public works contracts. Let's quickly summarize some of the most important things to keep in mind when completing certified payroll. First and foremost, keep accurate and complete records. Since certified payroll is a report of hours worked and payments made, well-kept and maintained records can help make the process of completing certified payroll easier. Certified payroll is required by law. Every contractor and subcontractor on a covered project must file certified payroll. Use the correct form. Make sure your payroll report form is in compliance with PWR law requirements. If you're not sure, refer to or use the most recent edition of BOLI's WH-38 form. Respond to all questions with complete information. Be sure to enter each employee's full name and address, as well as the classification of work performed in columns 1 and 2. If an employee worked in multiple classifications, report their hours in separate rows. Report overtime separately from straight time. Generally, overtime is due for work over 8 hours in a day or work on weekends and legal holidays. Report these overtime hours under OT in column 3. Report the name of fringe programs and equivalent hourly rates. If you are claiming a fringe credit for employer-paid contributions to a benefit plan, make sure you report the hourly equivalent rate of this contribution and the name of the plan in columns 10 and 11. Submit certified payroll to the public agency, not BOLI. Complete a payroll report and certified statement for each week of work on a PWR project. The certified statement must be signed and dated, and the public agency must receive both documents by the 5th business day of the following month of work. Need help? Don't worry. We're here to assist you with any questions you may have about completing certified payroll. Give us a call or send us an email. We look forward to hearing from you.